So in this meditation, the mindfulness of breathing, we're doing, I suppose, two things. We're trying to just watch our thoughts, just notice what happens, just notice our experience in the present moment. And the second thing is, by doing that, we allow our minds to calm down. We don't get caught up in our minds and follow these thoughts all the time. We might get distracted for a while, but we're trying not to do that, because that's what we habitually do, isn't it? In our normal lives, we just go off on long thought trains. So we're trying not to do that, but we're not trying to push the thoughts away. We're just noticing them. We're noticing them, if we can, ideally like clouds in the sky, just passing through our minds. If we try and stop them, then all we're doing is creating more thought, and that doesn't help anybody. So we're just trying to notice the thoughts, and what that does is it allows the thoughts to begin to calm down and settle. So we hopefully, if we keep practicing, our minds become quieter and quieter, and eventually they become quieter during each day as well, not just in meditation. We find that we've got more sense of calmness during the day and less thoughts going on. And also, because we put so much energy into thinking, regular meditation actually creates or changes the way we use the energy. We use it less in thoughts, so there's more energy available for our just being in life. So meditation is just a wonderful thing if we do it regularly, which a lot of you obviously are, because you're here every morning, and that's great. So well done. It really is good for us to keep doing this, and that's scientifically proven as well. So the mindfulness of breathing, for anybody who doesn't know, is in 4 stages. And the first stage, we count, we just place a number, if we want, after the out breath. So we're really concentrating on each out breath from the beginning to the end. And it's useful when you're just beginning to meditate to place a number right at the end of the out breath. It just helps keep concentration going a bit. So we count 1 and then 2 and so on up to 10, and then we start again at 1. And if we get distracted, we just come back to the breath when we realize we've been distracted and begin again at 1. So it's just straightforward. And it isn't really about the counting, it's about following the breath, but the counting can help. So in stage 2, we do exactly the same thing, but right at the beginning of the in-breath. So we count the number, and then we notice the in-breath from the start to the end. And then at the next in-breath, we place the next number, and so on. Stage 3, we move into just noticing the breath in the body, and what that feels like, and any qualities. Trying not to think about it, but just actually experiencing the sensations of the breath in the body. Quite wonderful sensations, actually, if we really get focused in on them, and they absorb us if we really allow them to do so. In the 4th stage, we just move up to the area around our nostrils or upper lip, just noticing the air coming in and out of the body, and the qualities of the air. Again, without thinking about it, just experiencing it as much as we can. So that's it. So we'll, as usual, we'll have a little introduction and settle in to the meditation. And then I've got a poem to read by Pablo Neruda, which is a beautiful poem about stillness. So we'll begin. So just taking stock of ourselves, just noticing how we are, this precious being that is each of us, here this morning. Just noticing how we are mentally, busy minds or quiet minds or slightly sluggish minds at this time of day, a little sleepy in our minds. That's okay. How are we emotionally? Feeling happy, sad, dissatisfied, joyful, anxious? However you're feeling emotionally, it's okay. It's just the way you're feeling, that's all. Inevitably through our lives, we go through different phases of emotion all the time. We don't make it happen. It's mostly our habits, the way we respond to the world. And it just happens. And we can't avoid that. What we can do is we can change our attitude towards it. So if we're feeling pleasant, then that's good. We don't need to do anything. Just enjoy it. If we're feeling unpleasant emotions, then we can have a sense of kindness towards them. Just unpleasant emotions are a form of suffering for us. So all we need to do is to just acknowledge them and shower them with kindness and love. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we take care of ourselves if we're not feeling good? How are we physically? Might be feeling great. Might be feeling a bit stiff or achy. And again, if that's so, just directing kindness to the discomfort. Not getting into conflict with it. Just softening towards it. Just being aware of the contact with the chair and the mat, the bed, if we're lying on the bed. However we're sitting or lying, just noticing the contact with what we're sitting or lying on. Just allowing our weight to be taken by that. Just relaxing as much as we can. During the course of the day, we hold ourselves, particularly our faces, in a particular way to meet the world. We don't need to do that right now. So just letting the whole of your being just sag a little bit. We can still sit up straight, but we don't have to hold our faces or our bodies in quite the same rigid way as we might when we're facing the world. And bringing the attention to the chest area, rising and falling as we breathe in and breathe out. noticing the movements. Noticing the sensation, quite pleasant. As we breathe in, we can feel the whole of our upper body responding. Kind of tingling feelings. As we breathe out, if you look closely, you might feel lots of energy dropping away, waiting to be replaced by the new energy of the new in-breath. So this is a poem by Pablo Neruda called Keeping Quiet. Now we will all count to 12, and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victories with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I'll count to 12, and you keep quiet, and I will go. This is the mindfulness of breathing. And in the first stage, we're going to count at the end, the very end of the out-breath. Just placing a number 1 in our minds, then number 2 at the next out-breath, and so on up to 10. And if we get to 10, beginning again. And if we don't get to 10, just patiently, kindly coming back to the breath and beginning again from 1. And when you get distracted by a thought, that is a really special moment to notice that you've been distracted. It's a little bit of awakening. So when that happens, just coming back to the breath and beginning counting again. Not getting too caught up in the counting. It's not a competition. We're just using the counting as a way of concentrating. It's mostly about following the out-breath. In the second stage, we're going to place the number just before each in-breath, and then follow the in-breath right to the end. Not making too much effort, not trying to get to 10 or anything like that. Just counting, just noticing the breath. And if you notice any judgments appearing about how well you're doing, particularly negative ones, just letting them go. You can't do this meditation wrong. In the third stage, we drop the counting and bring our attention to the breath in the body, particularly in the upper body. Just noticing the rising and falling of the chest and the upper back, the sides of the body as well. Just feeling the lungs expanding and the rib cage being pushed outwards on each in-breath. Really getting lost, if you can, in the rhythm of the breath, in all these sensations. If you get distracted, just coming back to the sensations in the upper body. If you want, you can extend your awareness to the breathing in the whole of the body. The sensations in the arms as you breathe, the sensations in the legs, and the sensations in the head. And in the final stage, we're going to move our awareness up to the area around the nostrils or the upper lip, wherever we breathe in, and just noticing the subtle sensations as the breath passes over these spots, both it coming into the body and leaving the body. Just really noticing what it feels like, as much as you can. You might notice the temperature of the in-breath, the temperature of the out-breath. Are they different? Not thinking about it, just experiencing it. And again, without thinking if possible, just experiencing the texture of the breath, the smoothness, the roughness, or whatever it is, without judgment, just experiencing. And for the last few moments of the meditation, just letting go completely. Just sitting with your experience, whatever that is, not getting drawn into it, not pushing it away. Just sitting, observing whatever experience you are having in the moment. And just before we end, giving yourself a pat on the back. This is a wonderful way to start the day. It's wonderful for our well-being. It's really helpful to our state of mind for the rest of the day. So just giving ourselves a little pat on the back for doing that.